So it's a great place to start by talking about and understanding the basics. And even though I told you this is going to be a discussion where almost all of the topics are useful, and no matter what type of investing that you do, understanding the basics of Wasabi Ventures Stallions is actually going to give you a frame of reference as you get the education tonight. So what is Wasabi Ventures Stallions? It's a venture capital style alternative investment fund where all of the assets are thoroughbred breeding assets. And we'll talk about what those are. And all of the funds are annual 10-year funds. Those two data points are going to come into play here as we dig in. So it's good to have that frame of reference. So the first thing to understand about Wasabi Ventures Stallions funds, but really, once again, to any type of private equity fund, any type of alternative asset fund, you're going to hear this term called a J curve, okay? And so what that is kind of with the picture that you see on the screen. Every fund has what's known as a J curve when you're talking about like in the private equity world. And what does that look like? Is that the J is the investment period. That's when you've collected all the money and now the investors' money, and now you're making those investments. Well, obviously, as you make investments, the curve goes down. That's the internal rate of return is dipping, right? So that's why it's in red. Nobody likes when it goes down. But what the key to the J curve in all funds is that you want that curve to be as shallow and short as possible. It's never going to be flat because by definition of private equity, they're not liquid assets. You don't just buy and sell them on on the street corner. So you're investing so that you can get returns later in the year. So you want the curve to be shallow and short in number of years. Remember, once again, we're talking about a 10-year fund. So if you look at this curve, and we're going to talk a lot about this, and we're going to look at results, we really try to think about the bottom of the J curve being in years 3 and maybe year 4 at the most, and then everything starts swinging up from there. And then you want the J to go straight up. I know I saw a couple of people who are teachers on here. When you teach somebody to write to J, you want it to go straight up, right? And that's kind of what you want out of your J curve as an investor as well. So when does the fund earn returns? Once again, it's a 10-year fund. So this is a really interesting chart. And what I want you to, and we're going to talk about that, the type of asset, those 4 assets on the left are the categories of all assets that we invest in. Everything we invest in, once again, are thoroughbred breeding assets. It has nothing to do with racing. It is attributed to it, or it has affiliation to it, because obviously horses that get bred eventually go off and race. But really, the investment vehicle is around the breeding aspect of it. And, for a different webinar at some point, we'll talk about why that's important compared to racing. But there are 4 types of assets here, or 4 types of returns. Annual dividends from stallion shares, sales of stallion seasons, liquidity events of an asset, meaning we sell an asset, broodmare rentals, and broodmare liquidity. Okay, those are the 4 types of assets, or the 5 types of returns on assets. And once again, we're looking at 10-year funds. And the brighter the orange is my personal favorite color, which is why you see orange in so many things. But the brighter the orange is, the more intensity or the more intense moments or years where we are expecting returns from those types of assets, okay? So things that are pale, we think there's almost no chance that you're going to get a return in those years. Now, remember again, think about the last slide in that J curve. See how the color of intensity gets brighter as we go in across, okay? And so some of them, there's brightness kind of in the middle, it gets brighter in the middle years, and then It'll even, like, this sale of stallion seasons actually goes from bright to kind of less to very pale to we're hoping for big bright orange. Okay. And so let's talk just a couple seconds about why that is for that one particular thing. The way stallion shares or breeding rights work is it's like a coupon bond. It's not a coupon bond, but from a mental thing, it's like a coupon bond, meaning you buy the asset, you buy the right to that horse, and you buy usually 2.5% if you're buying a share, just like you're buying a share of a company. You buy 2.5% of a stallion, 1/40th of the stallion. That gives you a right to use one breeding season a year, sometimes two, but usually one, depending on the contract. And you can sell that just like you would a coupon on a bond, right? You sell it and you collect the money for that being used by someone who wants to breed to that stallion. Okay. And the way, if you know anything about, now we're going to get a little biology in here. The gestation period of a thoroughbred horse is 11 months. So if you breed, if you sell that season in year one, you get paid in year two, because in the thoroughbred breeding world, they're called live foal stand-in and nursing contracts, meaning the foal has to be born, stand and nurse to the mom, the mare, and then the contract is fulfilled and you get paid as the stallion owner. Okay. So if you think about that J curve and you think about the cash flow that'll come in from sales of seasons, that first year you have zero chance, right? Because you're not selling that season until you're not getting paid on that season until year two, right? So that's why it's bright orange. Why is it bright orange in year two and then get duller for 2 years? This is the dynamics of the thoroughbred world. That very first year for a freshman stallion is its brightest year. It's the thoroughbred racing game is all about a chip and a dream. It's about people who want to buy a horse with a brand new stallion and who's never been bred before, never been used for breeding before, and you got a chance to go to the Derby. That's what it's about. So that first year, those seasons are way more expensive. You can sell those for a lot higher because it's an unknown quantity. By years 2, 3, and 4, we're waiting for that horse to run. Because if you think about a horse, it's bred in year 1, it's born in year 2. How old is a horse when it runs a Kentucky Derby? It's 3. So now you've got 2 more years before that horse even races. It's not until you get to year 5 to know if those horses bred from that stallion are good or not. It's just how the market works. So if you get a winner, you get a stallion and you got a winner, you buy them cheap here, relatively inexpensive, and you ride it out and you hope you picked a winner. Very much like investing. For those of you, I know some of you on here, it's like investing in a startup, right? You're hoping that you pick that winner 4, 5, 6, 7 years from now, you get the large payouts. We're going to go through some examples. Anyway, the important thing from tonight is to understand that J curve and how the funds returns come. Okay.